Hey guys, first and foremost, sorry about the delay on this particular piece of content, but we are actually going to be talking about Frost build Thor. This is a build that I personally like. It's not a build that I'm saying everybody has to do, but I'm just explaining how to do it and what it does. So we're going to look at the event bursts first. Sorry about this, just a visual glitch. I have the Faultless and Vulnerability event bursts with cryo accelerators on light signature attacks. It's important. They deal cryo damage dispersing cryo particles on every impact. I'll explain why I use that and why on the light signature attacks when we get to that point. But for now, just know that it's very important. I'll cover it later as to what it does with my particular build because it is extremely important to stack it. Next is the Grip of Thunder. Now, no matter what you're building, if you're wanting your ranged attacks to do whatever it is, this is the perfect way to do it because it does cryo casing on enemies that are pinned with damage over time, and ranged power attacks also do cryo damage. And that's a specific skill that's in the skill tree I will go over as to why you want your ranged attacks to do that. The cryo casing, when they're pinned, you can have someone cryoed out by the time you go over to them to take the hammer back. It's super useful. I mean super useful. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the skills next. The first skill I'm actually going to show you is Impact Explosion. What this is if you're using the controller, you hold the right trigger while you're aiming to do your ranged attack, and he spins his hammer. Upon the full completion of the spin, you throw it down, and where it lands, it starts sparking electricity. Now, whatever particular spec you have for your ranged attacks, it will do that. Be it pin particles, cryo damage, cosmic, you name it. But in this case, since it's cryo damage, it lays out massive cryo damage to the people around the hammer, or if you drop it in behind or in front of or at the feet of a massive enemy, it lays a lot of cryo damage on that one particular enemy. Then we have Jotunheim's Tempest. Basically, this makes your ultimate heroic specialization do massive AoE cryo damage. It's as simple as that. There's no other thing that you need to know about it except when you land, boom, cryo damage everywhere. Now with that, you definitely want to capitalize on the damage that you're outputting with that specific attack. So the next thing that we'll go into is actually called the Precision Bifrost. This can be a little tricky and it can be kind of hard to get the timing down at first. I promise you it'll only take 1 or 2 times and you'll have it down properly. So basically when you actually activate your Bifrost, you launch into the air and the symbol on the ground slowly turns red. At the point it turns completely red, you activate it and you do 50% more damage to everyone around you. So not only are you laying down that big freeze, now you're doing 50% more damage to those around you as well. Now after this part is completely optional, but I think it's really great for this build. We want to do the increase to melee stun damage in your combat section. It only increases by 15%, but if you look at it from this perspective, as you are keeping these people in cryostasis essentially, once they get up and they're moving slowly, you can at that point attempt to get a full stun off to do a takedown. It helps so much, a lot more than you would think. Okay, so the last skill that we're going to be looking at is called Son of the Elder Gods. It actually affects your Assault Heroic God Blast, and basically what this does is the whirlwinds that you inflict by holding down the button, because you have to hold it down for this to work. The whirlwinds that you inflict actually have increased damage by 20%, and they do cryo damage. It's important to note that if the enemy is shielded, they can walk through the whirlwinds. It still damages their shield, but they can just walk through it and keep going, and it will not stop them. It's also important to note that the lightning strike at the end of it does not do cryo damage at all. Okay, so to show this in more practical use, when you are charging your hammer, when you spin it, if you release it at any point in time before the full charge is done, it will still pin the enemy. However, if you do charge it fully, you throw the hammer, it will not pin, it will land, and it can happen on walls too, and it'll just spark electricity everywhere, doing and applying the cryo damage to everyone in the vicinity of the hammer. However, if you do pin them, it does cryo damage for as long as they are pinned. When you go to them and you yank it out, it will show that the cryo damage, typically it will do the full proc for the cryo damage, so when you yank the hammer off, they will actually be slowed. Now, going forward, when you actually have a group of enemies surrounding the hammer, you can see clearly how the hammer will spark, hit all the enemies, and apply cryo damage to each one of them. This does great damage output. It can be honestly spammed, it can be repeated, so you can keep getting that cryo damage off. In addition, it helps your team as well, especially if your teammates have other elements or debuffs that they can put on the enemy, or the same one. Now, the light combo that I was talking about, as he spins his hammer, you do this by holding down your attack button, your light attack button. Each rotation is a hit, and each rotation, each hit, applies the cryo effect as well. So by the time you're actually done with maybe about your second rotation. They should be fully procced with the cryo, and it's a three-part combo. There's another spin at the end, which I won't show in this video, but there is another spin at the end. Um, and at which point, once they're slowed down, you can actually go in to try to apply the stun, which you will see. Now, the whirlwinds, which will be shown here shortly as well, when you do actually do God Blast, if you hold the button, it procs these whirlwinds to come up. It lifts the enemy as well as applies the cryo damage. So while they're lifted, they are not immune from damage. They can still be attacked by your companions or your allies or your teammates. This can help your team as well in a big crowded situation like a vault if it's a high level and y'all are having trouble with it. However, it must be stated that if they are in fact shielded, they will not stop by the whirlwinds. They will not be lifted by them. They can walk through them. It will still damage their shield, but they have to sit in it for it to damage them. So if you're going to try and use it on a shielded enemy, a Dreadbot's your best bet. Now with the Jotunheim, when you're using the Bifrost, as you proc that red dot on the ground, when it turns red and you land, understand that it does still do a pushback of damage, so the people will get hit with cryo damage, but at the same time, it will still push them back and away from you. So this is a good crowd clearing thing, and if you're trying to just do single target damage on a big enemy, it helps a lot with that as well. So we'll see how that helps in the future content. But anyway, guys, I hope you liked this. Sorry it took so long to get it out. If you do like this content, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to let you know when I do upload more things. It helps the channel out, helps me out, and helps me create more content for you guys. Have a great day, morning, noon, or night, whatever it is, wherever you are.